Hello and welcome to the Allen Iverson episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 96, which is in honor of him being the first overall pick in the 1996 NBA Draft. Recording this one on the evening of Monday, August 12th in the year of our Lord 2024. My name is Logan Wertman, and as usual, I'm joined by my winged co-host, Jacob Roth. Jacob, how does it feel to be on the Allen Iverson episode?
Feels pretty good. 96, so that's like a GOAT draft, isn't it? That's like Marcus Camby was in that draft.
Yeah, he was one of the guys, or I think at least maybe.
What's Jelly Bean Bryant's kid's name? Oh yeah, Kobe was in that draft. I'm being facetious now, obviously. I'm pulling a trick on you guys. I'm almost positive Marcus Camby was in that draft.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one, but I know Steve Nash for sure. I'm sure you're probably right. I just don't want to 100% sign my endorsement.
That's fair.
But yeah, Kobe.
Steph Marbury,
yeah. And then Ray Allen was the other Hall of Famer.
And I looked it up to make sure Stojakovic.
Oh, yeah.
Jermaine O'Neal. I'm always scared to say his name, but I'm going to say it with my chest. Ilgauskas.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Ilgauskas, yeah. Lithuanian center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Arguably the best player on the LeBron Cavs before he got there.
Yeah, I don't remember his time before LeBron got there, but Ricky, I'm sure Carlos Boozer probably holds that title.
Probably.
Actually.
And then Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Yeah. So
was also
a lot
in
of
this
names.
draft.
A lot of good names.
A lot of solid names that stood the test of time to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And Nebraska had a couple good guys during this stretch. Not in this draft.
Ty Lue would have been around there.
Yeah. But no Huskers drafted in 96. So yeah, pretty solid pick for episode 96. That feels bananas. Also, am I winged because I'm flying with the gold medal as a bald eagle around my neck?
You could take it that way, to be honest.
Winged. Yeah. What else is winged? Okay. Side note, before we get to basketball stuff, I found the most obtuse headline in the history of headlines a couple days ago. It's like, maybe it's 2 weeks. Anyway, in Ohio, their Supreme Court of Ohio, the Ohio Supreme Court, deemed that just because a restaurant says something is boneless, you are not guaranteed that it won't have bones. So you could order boneless wings at a restaurant in Ohio, and due to the Ohio Supreme Court's ruling, they deemed that you are not guaranteed to have a boneless experience.
Legally
speaking.
Which I feel like is how it should be, probably. I don't know why you would be abided by law to not have a bone. And I feel like that's something that you could probably keep between store owners and the patrons.
It just feels weird to me that if I go to a restaurant and I order boneless wings and there's just bones in there.
You think that they should have legal ramifications?
Not legal ramifications, but like.
But I'm sure if you still complained, they would probably be accommodating. I'm sure that would probably.
No, I think it all came about because a guy cut his throat open because a bone was in a boneless wing. Like
oh my
it
gosh.
cut not like gushing out, but like got like cuts in his throat.
Because he must have sued.
Yeah, and I think that's how it got to the Ohio Supreme Court. But more that Ohio Supreme Court sat down, read through I don't know how many legal papers, and were like, our verdict is that boneless wings don't have to be free of bones.
That's not really the verdict, technically, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Because they're just saying
that was the verdict.
Well, aren't they saying that they're just not? They don't have the authority to. Like, they think that it shouldn't be a law or a regulation to enforce that something titled boneless by a restaurant needs to be factually boneless.
Yeah, I guess. I just feel like if it's called boneless and there's bones, seems a little goofy to me.
I agree. That's yeah. But, one could say the free let the free market do its work, and those people, those restaurants will have bad business if they continue with those practices, and the ones with the better business practices will be more successful.
That's true, but there's just some things where I'm like, okay, like if you like have to label a McRib as boneless, that's like a different, like there's a reasonable expectation. There's not going to be bones in a McRib,
Yeah,
but I feel like they're saucy nuggets. They're not boneless wings. They're saucy nugs. Shout out to that. Have you seen this video of a guy from Lincoln being like, it's saucy nugs. It's not.
No.
But
legendary.
Just because like boneless, like give them a different name then. If you're gonna sometimes have bones in there.
Intentionally? Is that like what they're?
No,
why are
it just like there was just a bone still in the little nugget.
Oh.
Like how do you like forget a whole bone? Like I cook kind of a lot. Like a whole bone?
Well, I'm sure it's probably there before. Most of the restaurants probably don't get those made. Like it's probably delivered to them.
The chain, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like if it's like a big dog chain, there's no way that they're just getting a frozen batch of chicken.
Exactly.
Prepped, and they just got to fry it and toss it in the sauce. But maybe it was a mom and pop. I didn't dig into that. Maybe it was a mom and pop. Okay. I didn't dig into. I did not.
I'm gonna keep all of this in.
It's fine.
So you know.
I did not dig into it that much because of how absolutely preposterous this whole concept was. Just the thought that, like, I also imagine like judge, lawyer, Supreme Court people as not very fun people. So they all had to sit around being kind of boring, like letter of the law squares, and just go tap their papers on their desk and go. In McCreary v. Ohio, yep, he says that if something is labeled as boneless, there should be no bones. I disagree. Everyone else agree with me? That's insane. Like, I know that's not how it went down.
Yeah.
But in this just explosion of randomness, my brain just couldn't comprehend that adults, like several adults in high governmental positions in the state of Ohio, took the time to break this down. Or is technically the judicial branch considered like non-governmental? Isn't that like their whole thing? They're like outside. I
guess I have no idea. I would think that they would be part of the government, but I'm not that smart with that kind of stuff because I tend to ignore most of like the important things in life. And
I'm a silly
not
goose.
Important, but
that's just dumb. Of course they're part of the government. I'm so dumb. Anyway, that is my little aside before we get to some real hard-hitting international Olympic basketball action, among other things. I don't really know what's coming up this episode. Like, I know some of it because we talked about it, but I don't know all of it. So,
yeah. So before we get to that, though, be sure to hit us up on Patreon and buy me a coffee if you would like to support us. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's at patreon.com/hooptheory as well as buymeacoffee.com/hooptheory. All our links can be found in the description of both the show and the episode, wherever you're watching or listening to this. We would also greatly appreciate it if you would rate the show, leave a like or a comment. Of course, be sure to subscribe and follow the feed. And lastly, we'd also love it if you could send something into the mailbag for us to read and react to. Basketball related or otherwise, you can send those over to hooptheory.mailbag@gmail.com. And now, without further ado, let's get into today's topics. So first off, sorry for the long wait. It's been a while since you've heard from us, probably, unless you're listening to episodes like back to back and, not when they released.
If you're listening to this in 2026 and the world's not over, welcome.
So it's been 2 weeks since we've sat down and recorded, or we tried to record this episode already last week on Tuesday, right before I left for a family vacation up in the good old Rocky Mountains. But so my plan was to edit that episode from the cabin we were staying at by remoting in to my computer here at home. But the Wi-Fi network out in the woods was pretty spotty. I guess, probably pretty predictably. Probably should have thought of that.
I almost just broke into an IAZ parody instead of shoddy. It was going to be spotty. Spotty's that's like the first thing that popped into my head. Shout out IAZ. I think that's how you say his name. Pretty sure. Anyway,
that's how I would say it. But yeah, and yeah, so I didn't have a secure connection technically, so that's why it would not allow me to remote in. So I had to delay the editing of last episode until I got home, which was just yesterday. And once I was able to try to do it, then that's when I realized that Jacob's audio on his video recording was gone. There was nothing there. Which now we've both had that happen. I had one of those a long time ago. That was probably like 40 or 50 episodes ago now. And then now you have had one. So
inexcusable. For me, yours was fine. Mine was silly because I checked and I thought I got everything right, but I checked every single place except for OBS, the software we're recording, and OBS was the only one that got reset. Yeah. Discord, the way we talked, didn't get reset. My default settings didn't get reset. Nothing got reset outside of OBS.
Yeah.
Which is sad because it was a pretty solid 48 minute. It was like a solid, or was it longer? It was longer.
It was longer. It was like an hour and a half.
The one we did before that was slightly shorter. It was a solid hour and a half. But man, we're here. We're ready to roll.
Yeah. We're going to be back and better than ever. Hopefully. I feel like we could. There's reason to believe that, it'll be better in the long run for us to have waited and compile all of our thoughts and just getting the best and brightest of the 2 weeks, all into this one. So sit down, strap in. It's going to be a long one, but hopefully it's a fun and entertaining one as well. We already got off to a great start with the whole wings or the boneless argument. But yeah, so to catch up with stuff that has happened since last time you have heard us talk, there's been a few things we had to, or actually the things I'll start off with is how you, Jacob, predicted 2 episodes ago, well, actually last episode to everybody listening, in episode 95, sorry to keep confusing things, but how you predicted the starting lineup of the South Sudan game.
Damage control.
So you in that episode said that because we were talking about how Tatum got a DNP against Serbia, then you said that as a damage control device, that Steve Kerr would make the starting lineup for that next game, which was going to be against South Sudan. He would make it Steph, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, and then Embiid would get a DNP, and that is exactly what happened. So I just wanted to highlight that magic because that, was lost forever if we didn't highlight it here.
Honestly, I wish I would have, it's kind of crazy that I just go, Tatum will start. For some reason, I felt the need to keep going. But the fact that it all hit is just all the sweeter.
I think it was like the first game that Drew didn't start. And then, also switching in Embiid for AD. Yeah, it was just a pretty unbelievable, honestly, prediction. And then another thing that happened was Serbia pounded Puerto Rico by 41. That was the biggest deficit we have seen in the Olympics, which have now concluded. As I've mentioned, it is Monday, August 12th when we're recording this. And then to jump into the first game I want to talk about a little bit was the one that happened right before we recorded last episode. So it was the majority of last episode. I need to stop saying last episode. The ghost episode that none of you will ever hear. The one that we recorded a week ago. That this is replacing. Serbia versus Australia, the quarterfinal. First round of the knockout round or knockout, stage. Serbia that was a 24-point comeback versus Australia. Patty Mills tied it at 82 to force OT.
Husker legend Jack McVeigh also had a pretty solid showing. I think he was 5 for 8 overall, 3 from 5 from 3 for 13 points.
That sounds exactly right, actually. Yeah.
Well, I'd never forget my Nebraska ball legends. Also, he recently got a 2-way deal with the Houston Rockets. So I hope he's able to. I mean, the Rockets is a terrible team to reach out because you're just buried. I play a 3-point shooting forward. The Rockets are we have 7 of those that are insanely promising, unfortunately. But I hope it leads to something for him because that would be awesome for good old Jack McTray.
Yeah. No, for sure. Always gotta shout out our Nebraska ball legends. If we don't, that's honestly kind of unfortunate. We need to always make sure we stick to that.
I don't think I'll ever get. I don't think I will ever evolve past that. You guys just better wait till we get a guy that's like NBA worthy. Not worthy is the wrong word, because like I think we've had NBA this guy's going in the first round. No one's ready for the toxicity.
Or how about like a Hall of Fame level guy? Or somebody that could make an all-star team. Or
if that happens, that might be the only thing that could shake my, like, I don't follow players, I follow teams. That might be the only thing that could rattle that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would it take me away from Boston? Absolutely not.
No, yeah. But like, it'd be like a secondary fan
if the two teams were to play, like, let's say player X, the Nebraska Ball Hall of Famer,
that we've created in our minds,
plays in the West, I want him to have 80 points every game and lose to the Celtics in 7. Like, I want it to be just glorious. But Celtics still come out on top. Anyway, that's enough about an imaginary scenario. We've got a lot of real scenarios to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Including the one where you go to patreon.com/hooptheory and buy me a coffee to buy Logan a coffee. Quick plug, unplugged now. Your turn, Logan, sorry.
Did you forget that we already did that?
I know we did it.
Oh, okay. You just wanted to. We'll just throw natural. It in every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, we'll throw it back. So Patty Mills tied it up at 82 to force OT in that Serbia-Australia game in the quarterfinal. Jokić was huge in overtime. He had the big block on Giddey, and then another play where he swiped a shot off the rim. He had that immaculate fadeaway, a Sombor shuffle, to really ice the game. And then Petrushev with the huge steal and save. Jokić had 21, 14, and 9 that game. That was his second Sombor double of this tournament. At the time of when I typed this out, after that game, I wrote down there's only ever been 3 triple doubles in Olympic history. That has changed now. We will get to that later, though. And then Jokić and Bogie, 2-man game, Bogdan Bogdanović. That was the thing that was really unstoppable in this game and all of the games that Serbia has played. That even when it was really dark for Serbia in moments like, the fourth quarter against the U.S., which we'll get to, that was their only saving grace, or like that was the only function of their offense that was like, oh, we can still create good shots, was when it was Bogdanović and Jokić running the 2-man game. Giddey shot actually really well this tournament. He shot 47.4% from 3, which is something to definitely monitor. Because
if he can continue to build off of that, that'll be a yoke on the face moment for Sam Presti. Just kidding. Alex Caruso's good enough at like everything else. I don't think it'll be a yoke on the face moment, but it'll be more like a hope for a hopeless people, also known as Chicago Bulls fans.
Yeah, maybe it will be somewhat like the James Harden
Jordan
trade.
2.0? I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, but I was going to say is like Presti's, what the biggest blemish on Presti's executive career is the James Harden trade. So like another version of that where he trades away a young star or somebody who has promise, and then he sells on them.
But
early.
I also feel like if Chet and like Shea turn into like, oh, they're both Hall of Famers for sure, he won't be like, I did okay with literally everything else. Like I got KD and Russ, and then I like rebooted for a couple of years, and then just found guys that ended up, if they do end up being that level, like Russ Westbrook gets a way worse rap than he is going to be in the Hall of Fame just because of what he has done in the triple doubles category almost exclusively. Yeah. But then not to mention this like weird like second half career revival thing that might be happening. Where he's like kind of, I feel like that is also another thing that might push him into that realm. Anyway, he's already there just because of him and Jokić. What was the math? Him and Jokić have accounted for 30% of all triple doubles.
We haven't brought that back up. Well, I think it was like 10. I think is what you guessed, and it was about exactly right.
It was almost Yeah, not
I think
30.
I actually have that written down
was
here.
Was it 30 or was it 3,000? And that's where I've got the 3 in my brain.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's been about 3,000 total triple doubles in history,
ever. And they have
329 of them.
They have like in the ballpark of 10% of them between two guys.
Over 10. It's like 10.4%
that are now teammates. So it's just crazy to think that like Sam Presti's been the orchestrator of both of those and could do it again. So if he stumbles again and sends his shooting guard guy that does kind of the same things as his point guard, even though that's not what Harden did. If he slips, he slips. But that's something to look forward to. If you're a Bulls fan, if Giddey can continue to do that. Also, I don't know how this just clicked. Giddey and Diddy are hilariously close.
I've not thought of that either. But, I mean...
It's also probably because like what Diddy did is
not really the same.
like way worse. Like, and then Giddey seems like a totally... Anyway, we don't need to keep talking about that. That just clicked in my brain.
Yeah, no, but Giddey has started his redemption tour, I think. Maybe at least with Chicago, but I think this will be if it does go that direction, this will be considered and looked back on as the start of that.
No, there'll be a 30 for 30, and you'll hear like the announcer go, and then the Olympics, and then it'll like flash, and it'll show like it'll have like Space Jam music in the background. And it'll be like Jock Lawndale, like on defense, throwing his steal up. Because he was also a freak this Olympics. But, yes, he was. Sorry. Back to focus mode.
A lot of the Aussies.
We got too much content for me to be stupid. Let's do this.
No, but the backcourt for Australia combined for 51 points in that game. Pretty ridiculous. But it was the aforementioned Josh Giddey, as well as Patty Mills, who always seems to turn it up several notches once he's playing with his national team.
There's a couple people that do that harder, but Patty Mills is on a very short list of people at C+ NBA. Just like, I don't want him touching the basketball in international play. I am terrified.
I believe he's, after this tournament, moved into the top 5, if not 5, then 6 all time in Olympic scoring of any player ever. So that's pretty wild.
What he is like, I am a flamethrower. I'm even a more efficient flamethrower at the Olympics. I've been doing this for forever. It's like a perfect storm, but it's still just crazy to think. You like look at the rest of the list and then just Patty Mills.
Yep, he passed Manu Ginobili. I think he passed Luis Scola, Pau Gasol. I think he's somewhere close to where Kevin Durant is, because Kevin Durant, I think, is also top 5. But he's number 1 in U.S. history. Men's and women's now. But yeah, we'll talk more about KD later, though. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the USA versus Serbia game, which was the semifinal. So that's where Serbia moved on to after the Australia game. The USA, by the way, in that round that Serbia played Australia, the US played Brazil and defeated them by 35, which I believe is the second biggest deficit.
It was not quite the Puerto Rico Serbia beatdown, but it was equally as debilitating for the other country.
Yeah, and the only bright spot being Bruno Caboclo having 30 points in that one.
Yeah, wow.
Which is pretty nuts. But yeah, so USA versus Serbia, though, this is the game that I probably have the most thoughts, at least written down about. And that was the one that you had watched a couple times at least.
Yeah, so I was watching it at work, and I kind of passive watched it because I was working, and then I watched it again, but my children were awake, so it was also passive, and I was like, I've got some really, not hot takes, but heated takes. I need to make sure that these are founded, so I watched it again. So I dipped my toes in it 3 times, knowing it would be a hot topic of discussion on the pod.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I watched most of the first quarter, and then I was unable to continue it because, as I said before, I was on vacation in Colorado in the mountains, kind of going around to different spots with my family on vacation while I was just, by myself with my phone trying to watch the game. But went into some areas where I was not able to have service, so I couldn't continue watching it until I got back to our cabin when it was late third quarter. And for some reason, even though I was recording the game, YouTube TV has this dumb thing, which you need to fix, YouTube TV. This is a problem. If you're not in your home area, who cares? If I'm recording a show, I would like to be able to start it from the beginning while it's still going on. Apparently, you cannot do that if you're not in your home zone. You have to wait for the thing to complete, like be completely finished, and then you can start it from the beginning.
It seems like for the sake of like making sure people aren't sharing, they're like debilitating their platform, which is sad, honestly.
It's really annoying. So I wasn't able to watch the actual game live all the way through like I would have liked to. I got to see like it in segments, but I got to see to the end from that point and saw, like the collapse that would follow. But then I went back after it was over and watched through another time where I got to see every single second of the game and actually rewatched a lot of plays even I really dissected it. Keeping an eye on like a lot of things that you had pointed out and, how different players had played, really putting the microscope in on the rotations of, a lot of the complaints about this Team USA roster was Steve Kerr's decisions in who he would play and stuff like that. So I definitely developed some more thoughts on that front. And also just one of the main complaints I feel like that showed up about this game was the threes that Serbia kept raining in through the first three quarters.
And they were shooting well, but it was more the looks they were getting to take these threes. They weren't hitting, spoiler alert, Steph type of threes later on in the game. They were hitting this is like almost a practice warm-up shot type of threes.
Yeah. So I mostly agree with that. I've heard a lot of people say that same thing that you just said, basically. I feel like there were a few of those, but I also think that there was like an element of like some of those shots were just like heavily contested over a hand. Like it was just like nothing you could do there. Most of those ones that were wide open, I would say, were the result of a gamble. And like there was at least 2 LeBron gambles that ended with like where he went at these peace signs getting me all the balloons on the camera. But there was at least 2 moments where LeBron gambled for a steal on a play and then left one guy to cover the 2 guys on the backside. So then they ended up with an open 3. And then there was another one with Ant doing that. There was one where Steph either gambled or fell asleep. I don't really remember what happened on that one. But a lot of those threes came from that. And then one other one of like Embiid not switching on a screen out to the perimeter. So like whoever it was, like Derek White or somebody, just got crushed by a screen. And so then Bogie came off of it for a wide open 3. Some of those ones were the ones that...
other ones were Devin Booker.
So that was the one that I was paying attention to the most. I didn't see a single 3 that was made against him that was his responsibility.
And maybe that's where I was just it just felt like he was not... It was more he always just felt like he was not in the right spot. And maybe I'm just not knowing enough. It just felt like he was not, he just didn't close out on stuff. And maybe it's also because I'm used to watching psycho freak Celtics basketball defense where even if it's not your job, they still close out. Just, I don't know. It just felt like maybe the better word, it just felt like nobody cared. It was so weird. The Team USA one.
I was really thrown off by your take on Booker because that was when I was trying to watch where mistakes and things that he made. I came away actually really impressed by the glue player type of game he played. I thought he actually played
a lot. He didn't shoot a lot. He just kind of took what came to him. Offensively, it was not where he made me mad.
Yeah, on offense, it was I was really impressed by almost every time up the floor he was setting back screens for Steph or setting a screen for LeBron right as he came up the floor so he'd get a mismatch. It was all the kind of role player type stuff. And I actually thought Derek White played probably his worst game of this whole tournament. And he had a couple big mistakes. The major one being where actually 2. One where he went under 2 screens in a row to give Bogdanović an open 3. There was no reason for him not to fight, especially the second one, but he just went under both screens and Bogdanović got a wide open 3. And then a couple of plays later, he fouled coming off the screen. He fouled Marko Gudurić from 3 and gave him a 4-point play. And then Derek White was taken out of the game and was never seen on the court again for Team USA, even in the next game.
Yeah, no, he was just done.
Yeah. So, and that's like the mortal sin of a glue player is to give up a 4-point opportunity. And so usually, Derek White is a lot better on that front. But I thought in that game, honestly, Devin Booker basically played like the Derek White game, but a lot better.
No, because he's just a better player by a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought Drew had a couple weird mistakes also in that game. Ant I thought was way worse than Booker also.
Yes.
In that game.
But if you say any take about Ant on the internet, you're just a hater and you're not ready for the next face of the NBA. And I don't really want to deal with more stupid people than I already do. Because I don't think Ant looked good at all.
No, definitely not in that game.
Not in Serbia. Like it was...
couple wild mistakes, like weird, like I mentioned the gamble, and he had a couple passes that were interesting to say the least.
Like he was doing his best to make sure the U.S. had a human 3-point shooting percentage after Steph was like 5 for 7 to open the game. Like Ant single-handed was like, I'll bring us back down to like mid 40s, upper 40% 3-point shooting. Don't worry, guys, I got this. And yeah.
But Drew, though, he had one of the weirdest decisions as well in that game where on a fast break, I think it was because the play just before was a turnover from him throwing a lob to Ant, which was a little bit off. But also, I don't know, maybe Ant just didn't handle it super well. Like he probably could have caught it most times. And that was a turnover. But then on the way back, it was a fast break. And Drew had Ant wide open on a fast break to hit him in front of the defense. Like it was an easy find for him. But instead, Drew like stops at about the free throw line and pulls back a little bit and turns around and kind of shuffle passes it out to Steph for a 3 in transition, which he was having a great game. Like, somewhat understandable. He had missed, like, I think the 1 or 2 shots right before that, Steph, though. Like, it wasn't like he was super on fire.
He wasn't mid 14 points in 4 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, and it was still just kind of baffling for a guy like Drew, who usually is a really good decision maker, to not just hit the wide open, super athletic guy running down the floor, and instead opt for that. So I thought that was a little interesting. But, the one thing that you brought up about Booker, like you wanted Tatum to get his minutes, because Tatum, for those who don't know, I'm sure most people do, though, Tatum got another DNP in this game, so both the Serbia games.
That was my first take. After watching it again, I took back my, not fully, but I said, it's not crazy that Tatum didn't play this game. It makes me mad, but Steve Kerr is not, like, dumb for sticking with what he did. That was my final take. I think I texted, like, okay, final change on my mind. This is my final take on the game. I am still mad that Jason Tatum didn't play because it still baffles me even if he's not shooting well, he does everything else so well. Why is Joel Embiid, who's doing everything, just bad? Like, he had 2 better games, but Joel Embiid did not have just a fine game until the final. Every other game was either...
You mean until the semifinal?
Do I have my Joel Embiid games mixed up?
Yeah, Serbia was the Joel Embiid game. This game that we're talking about.
At the end, you're right.
Well, he had 18 points. He had a pretty solid, especially in the fourth quarter, though, yeah.
Yeah, so I mixed up my games. But, it never felt like there was, a game where he was just fine. He was really good, or, why did he play? And it was just confusing to me. And I get that Steve Kerr has, a weird... balance to do with all these superstars. And then you got the old guard and the new guard. And, even though, Kevin Durant looked, off in this Serbia game, you can't, just bench Kevin Durant, the best Team USA player ever. And I think that's fair to say, without a question.
No, for sure.
And that's one thing he is not second best in. He is the guy when it comes to Team USA. So I just, I get it's this might have been the hardest year to coach.
And I don't know if they win that game, honestly, if he did bench Kevin Durant for somebody else.
No, I don't.
Because Kevin Durant was actually really big in the final moments also. He had a really big shot, one of the final shots that iced the game.
I also thought he did a really nice job defensively when things were getting weird and they were just throwing different options to try to slow down. We have Steph having an absolute heater and they're up on us still. What is going on? KD had some big moments in I don't know if he was ever on Jokić, but he was on Petrushev, I think is their other big's name.
Petrushev, yeah.
He got thrown into that situation, which just kind of was he's not a bad defender. He's I think it was AD on Jokić, and then they put KD on, and like LeBron was roaming. It was a weird thing. They had to go to some weird sets. I liked what KD did. It just was like it was just a weird game. Cause like, I feel like Serbia had one of their better games for, I guess I was going to say 42 minutes, but it was like, technically that would be 30 outside of the last like 5 minutes of the game.
Oh yeah.
They had
35,
like, about as good of a game as they could have. They were really, really, the U.S. shooting poorly was not because of like, oh, they're just off today. That was some of it, but a lot of it was like, this is just really, really good defense from Serbia.
Yeah.
Avramović was like, literally, you can't cover Curry better after that little flurry. Like, take film and watch Avramović. I'm also sounding like all those freak Nuggets fans that wanted Serbia to win. Can we talk about that at some point before we move on?
Yeah, I do have that as a thing to talk about. Do you want to go into it right now?
Oh, we can finish the game analysis before we go into that if you want.
Okay, yeah, that works.
But it's just this, like, more of my like initial text for those that don't know what I sent to Logan was like, why is Booker playing? And also I was probably like hyper, like, who would Jason Tatum replace in this lineup? Let me just rip every single small error they make so I can like justify my guy playing. For the video listeners, I'm wearing my Jason Tatum blue USA jersey. Wish I would have gotten a white one, but it's fine. I think the white ones are cleaner. But yeah, anyway, do I have any other thoughts on the game? Jokić, really good. Also, that game felt like another, like, we talked about it, maybe it's in the lost episodes, of Bogie, how he, like, this game felt like, oh, he's the captain. Like, this is why he's the captain of Team Serbia. Like, he just had some moments, and, like, Jokić is almost always the guy to, like, to calm down. But there was a couple calls where, like, Jokić was, like, arms up, like, getting red. You're like, oh, no, he's not going to blow up, is he? But then, like, Bogie would go over to him, and it, like, I don't think he calmed him down, but was like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Well, we're good. And it was a fun game. If you just wanted to watch good basketball, you found it. Watch the semifinal between Serbia and the U.S. Because that was
a good game. Yeah, that's an understatement too. It was a great game.
It was like the only way that it could have been better is if it would have felt closer for longer. Like if the U.S. could have like been behind by like single digits as opposed to like being in that like out like low to mid teens where you felt like, oh wait, is this not over? But like it felt a little bit like this was Serbia's game.
Yeah, and then just completely flipped in the fourth quarter. Yeah.
What do you think changed when that flip happened?
Well, I'd say the main thing is Serbia's shooting just fell off a cliff. Like it went from, they made 15 of 29.
It came back to the
first
medium.
Three. Yeah, they missed every three in the fourth. They didn't make a single three in the fourth quarter. So they went from 15 of 29 to 15 of 39. They ended 0 for 10, which is just rough, especially when you're in that kind of position against, the best team in the world, what some people are calling the best team ever assembled. Regardless of whether that's like true or not, that's a wild thing to be up on them that big, especially. And then, for it to end like that was just rough. I thought there was some baffling decisions with some of the rotations of how they kept, I think Micic, played every single minute of the fourth quarter, which was interesting with how good Avramović was playing this entire game.
No, it's like,
why they opted for that as the point guard out there. But I just think he over dribbled a lot of times and kind of decided to be the hero on some plays where it was like, why don't you just pass the ball to Jokić?
Which is why also double weird because he's like hero number 4 on this team. I don't know where his like ranking is in terms of his own world, but like
he's considered the third best player on this team, but he's like the commander of the second unit.
That whole day he did not feel like he was that guy. There was like 4 or 5 other, probably only 4 guys that I'd like put above him on that day specifically in terms of what they were doing. And it was just wild. Also, I want to throw in the Joel Embiid thing. Get it. They were out rebounding. They were just bodying the out of the U.S. bigs. For like the first, I think that was one of the big things that changed for me is like sometime when the comeback, the run kind of started back. It wasn't right when like it exploded and the U.S. like stormed back, but like when they like cut it from like down by 15 to like closer to like down by 11 and things started going back and forth. That's when it felt different to me. Is like, okay, Bam and AD are actually getting boards. Embiid's not getting bullied off and letting like 3 or 4 offensive rebounds happen in the first quarter. Like, that's insane. You're Joel effing Embiid. You're Anthony Davis. You're Bam effing Adebayo. Like, you guys can do this. Come on. Let's go. And they did it when they needed to. They put their 1-2 buckled my shoe and got it done. But it was just that was the thing that made me the most mad. I think the whole game is the rebounding. Like, no. It looked like they didn't care. Like, they just assumed it would be fine.
Yeah, my take on this is it's the same thing as, I don't know, I guess, what the overall of the Olympics numbers were in terms of the rebounding game or the rebounding battle were. But typically, this is one of the major disadvantages the U.S. has in FIBA play, is because in the NBA, for a while now, for a decade at least at this point, teams have adopted the culture or the philosophy of never crashing the offensive glass. So, like, everybody gets out and defends. Like, everybody just leaves. As soon as the shot goes up, they're already switching ends. And so then that gets players on the defensive end so used to not having to fight for rebounds, because in the NBA, there's not near as many people crashing the offensive glass. So it's just like, oh, let's get this easy rebound and go. And then whenever you see NBA players forming a team going and playing against European players, in Europe, that is like an art that they have not lost. You know, that is like a thing that is still very prevalent, where they're crashing the offensive glass and they have 2 big lineups a lot of times. You know, they're really prioritizing that. So then all of a sudden they have to like redirect or reprogram their brains to be like, oh, when I'm getting this rebound, I have to like, there's going to be other people also going for this rebound.
I agree. It was the semifinals of the Olympics. Like,
they should be used to it at that point.
If you should be used to it, and then after one, there should be some sort of competitive something inside you that's like, that's not happening again. Like, obviously things, but like, not like I don't know. These are all hyper competitive people. That's why they're in the NBA.
Yeah.
But like, I'm playing like crappy street ball with my friends, and how they were getting bodied, I would have became furious. Like, and I'm not good at basketball. I'm not the top of the top. I'm not this freak hyper competitor to get me to that level.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that got me the most is like, because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like in the early games, you're like, okay, they're just getting used to the FIBA, but whether the shooting's off, there's all sorts of things that just they have to flip in their brain. But that's what the USA Basketball Showcase is for. This team played, I think it was a total of 10 games together, I think, between the Olympics and the Showcase. And you were on game 9 of 10, and you still hadn't figured out that you need to crash the boards and like actually care because they're coming from behind you to get them. Like,
yeah. Also, they were playing. This might have been the biggest team because they never played France, right? Up until the end.
They had not played France yet. Well, then even then, when they played France, they didn't really play big France.
They didn't exactly. So there was a lot of minutes in this game where Jokić was out there with Milutinov, and then obviously Petrushev with the starting lineup. So that's, a 2 big lineup all the time, which definitely is a bit different to go against than probably like Puerto Rico and South Sudan and stuff like that. But I'd say the main thing is like the team effort on the rebounding thing. Like it was more of a team problem than it was like, oh, Joel Embiid's just not fighting for a rebound here. It was more like, I think it was still, they were getting used to the thing of like LeBron on some plays where he just started switching ends right away, because it's like everybody switches ends in the NBA. And so then the guy that we're going to leave here on defense, he doesn't need help because it's like, oh, he's just going to grab the rebound here. But then the other guys on the other team haven't switched ends yet. So then like they're there all to fight for the same ball. So there's a couple plays like that where it was like LeBron or some other players. There was a few LeBron plays that stuck out to me where he was starting to switch ends, and then he would like point at somebody like who didn't get the rebound, and it's like, well, that was your guy that you should have been boxing out, but you were already switching. So it was even like the smart players, like, because LeBron is considered, the wise old patriarch of the team.
I feel like he aged 8 years during this Olympics. It's like he didn't bring his Just for Men. His beard, it feels like he forgot his Just for Men in LA and like didn't get his beard touched up or something.
I like when his beard is gray.
I liked the grizzled vet LeBron. Yeah. It's like Hugh Jackman in the movie Logan. They made him look like older, and you're like, this is sick. He's still saucing people up. This is another thing. and this could honestly be a whole different episode, so I'm just going to touch on it as a little tease. This Olympics might have been the flipping over. I might be on a different side of the debate now.
Of what debate?
Of the GOAT debate. I might be on the other side now.
Wow.
Like, it like had me get past the hater vision that I have, and it made me think like, this is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does it in LA again and is like this, it's over. I'm like,
does what in LA again?
Comes back like, and is like another. I think he said it's like probably not like he didn't totally shut the door, but he like pretty much did. KD, I'm convinced KD's playing. The way that he was like talking about LA, he's like, well,
are you saying 4 years from now? Is that what you're saying? Oh, is it going to be in LA?
Yeah, that's where the Olympics are next.
Okay. I was confused because he plays for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
I thought you were just saying like when he goes, I was like,
does what that for the Lakers like regularly is that kind of guy.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you meant win a title or just do another year of what he did last year with the Lakers. Like, I wasn't sure what you were saying, but yeah, if he comes back at age 43 and plays for the U.S. Olympic team,
even if
in
he's
LA,
just like the two guys that don't play all the time, I'd still be like, man, that's just crazy.
If he's like Jason Kidd in 08, well, I guess I don't know how much Jason Kidd in 08 played off the top of my head.
But he just gets in a pinch. They just need we need something. And he gets into his bag of magic and just cooks one more time. I also would like to, my way too early, Team LA, do you want to hear it? I made the list.
Team USA in LA?
Yeah, we'll do this for probably after the final game. Would be a better time to do it than now. So okay, never mind.
I do have a section of notes after that. It's called Bigger Picture.
Yeah, so and this is that exactly. So
all right. Nice. Well, I guess getting back to the Serbia game, the Serbia-USA game. USA squeaked it out, 95-91. Serbia led by 17 at one point. They started off with a barrage of threes from Steph in the first quarter. He had 17 points in the first quarter, but Serbia was still up at the end of that one it was 31-23, which was pretty insane that even though Steph went out for 17 by his lonesome, Serbia still had pretty, firm control over the game. And a lot of that was due to Aleksa Avramović firing very, very early. He had 15 points in that first half, 4 of 6 from 3 on the game. And that's what he ended with as well, was 15 points. And that was mainly, like we said before, of Pesic, the coach of Team Serbia, not putting him back in the game. But he definitely was hitting early, more so than he was later in the game. But this is a guy that I feel like we should have a little bit of a love session for. We did in the Lost episode, but I didn't want that to be lost forever, is Aleksa Avramović being just a guy.
This is because that episode was recorded before the semifinal.
Yeah. This is just after the quarter. It was right after the quarterfinal. So it was right after Australia, which was the game where he took one of the most egregious flops I've ever seen in my life. And he's just, Jacob, you said either through text or on the podcast where you said that he was just your guy basically on Team Serbia. Like you were a big fan.
Okay, yeah. I'm not the same level as Nuggets fans, some Nuggets fans. I was Stars and Stripes the whole way through that game. Never had an ounce of me going, I'd be okay if we lost this. Not a fiber of my being was okay with that. But I love Avramović almost more than anybody else. Because he's just like a dog in every sense of the word.
He really is.
He's just like a bad Derek White, but on a team, every team needs this guy, and he's theirs. And I just love the way he approaches everything.
Yes. And he's kind of take like Bobby Portis or Pat Beverly type of energy a little bit. Yeah. Like it's like put it on meth.
But then put it in the the demeanor. He gets amped, but then he's never yelling at people. What's not yelling at people? It doesn't feel like he's obnoxious about it, but he is. It's this weird combo.
I feel like he's pretty obnoxious, but he is
Maybe
he has crazy person eyes. Like the way he's just always like amped up and ready to go. The way he looks while he's sitting on the bench while getting yelled at by the coach. The amount of yelling watching this Serbia team is just enjoyable. Like it's funny, like you mentioned before, Bogdanović is like the team captain. The way that his leadership style, I guess, is not really. It's kind of weird to see, I guess, from the American perspective, because I don't know what they're talking about because they're speaking Serbian the whole time. But him and Pesic, the entire Olympics, were constantly yelling at each other. Like every time you could see Bogdanović, team captain, and the head coach interacting, they were always like looking like they were in a fight. Yeah. Like it's like, what is happening?
It's like people watching me and my dad interact. You think that something's wrong and it's just not. It's just how it's the moment. It's just how it goes.
Bogdanović looked angry the entire tournament. Which, we'll also get to that later.
He looked pretty happy when he hit him with the Melo celebration.
Yeah, which is another thing I'd like to get into. But before that, though, continue with this Avramović love. He's just like, the way he interacts on the court is just like he's always looking to pick a fight all the time. Like he just wants to start stuff with people, for no reason. I mentioned the flop. He had another really wild flop at the very end of this game that we're talking about, the Serbia and US game. On Steph Curry. It was in like the final moments of the game, basically. And so that it was just like some of those moments. And he just seems like the type of guy that would, like when you're out with friends, he's like one of the guys in your group, like he would just constantly be getting in fights with people and like causing like just a lot of tension where there doesn't need to be. Yeah, he's definitely an instigator. That is for sure. He looks like he's a literal psychopath, but I love it. I would like to have him on the Nuggets, to be honest. If he could continue that 3-point shooting, which in the Olympics he was on one. He shot actually 37%, which pretty good. But compared to what he shot last season in the EuroLeague, he shot 29.5% from three. And he for his career in Europe, he's shooting 33.1%. So not very good. Kind of subpar. On most scales, but 37% was what he shot in the Olympics. And also the only games he shot well in were
ones that I watched.
Honestly, there was the exhibition game against US,
which I watched.
It was this game, the semifinal, and then the Puerto Rico game,
which I did not watch.
Okay.
So I did not watch the beatdown.
The first US game, though, in group play, so that was the first game of the actual Olympics, he was 0 for 3, so he didn't shoot well that game. But other than that, though, against the US, he was hitting everything, basically. So, yeah, I see how you would have come away with, like, that guy is a sharpshooter, or that guy's like a flamethrower from 3. But yeah, and then that could probably do it with Avramović. The other guy that was shooting really well from 3 for Team Serbia was Ognjen Dobrić. He was 3 for 5 from 3-point land, but then he missed the easiest one he had all game when he was given a completely wide open one in the fourth quarter towards the end of the game that he was not able to put in the basket. But and then Marko Gudurić had a pretty good game as well. Vasilije Micic also had a couple big ones. He had one that he banked in, I'm pretty sure. It was either in this game or maybe it was in the Germany game. But he's not considered a very great shooter either. But he seems like kind of like Jokić in a way where he just makes the really big, important ones that like you shouldn't make.
And Jokić also seemed like he's been off.
He has been very off ever since the playoffs started. Similar to Tatum, honestly, where they haven't been shooting well, kind of over the same path. They have the same cloud over their heads.
Except Jokić is not deemed to be like a dog shit NBA player.
Yeah. He also doesn't take near as many as Tatum typically does, at least in NBA games. He got to the point with the Team USA where he like wasn't even shooting them when he was open, Tatum, which was weird to see because his main issue in the NBA was taking too many of them sometimes, or he would settle.
My hypothesis that he's going to turn into Magic Johnson is continuing.
That's true. Maybe that's what it is. He's just literally forming into Magic Johnson.
He's just minus the AIDS. He's just like forming and evolving into Magic Johnson. So now we'll have like Magic Johnson, but like a step down, and like Michael Jordan, but a step down. And you got to deal with that for the next
That's Jaylen Brown as Michael Jordan.
I might have stretched it a little bit. I don't really care. Shout out JB. Also, shout out Peyton Pritchard got married this last weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Congratulations to him.
They called him Bunny. I think, no, what do they call Eminem and 8 Mile?
B-Rabbit?
They called him P-Rabbit.
P-Rabbit. Yeah. I like that. No, that's funny. That should have been I'm sure that's probably been a nickname for a while now. I'm guessing. That just seems like, it seems like too obvious to not be.
It's too there. It's too there.
P-Rabbit. I like that. But yeah, Jokic, his 3-point struggles is mainly because of his wrist that has been flaring up. So like a lot of people, I like how, especially when Embiid was playing poorly, and then obviously Jamal, whose stock is at an all-time low right now. But those guys, them struggling, everybody talks about it like, oh, well, they're just injured. You know, they're hurt. And it's like, well, Jokic he could arguably have been the MVP of this Olympics. And he is playing through a injured shooting wrist, which is pretty detrimental to, you know, his play, but he's still getting it done somehow, which is just, it makes it all the more impressive. But yeah, Embiid in this game was huge down the stretch. He really took over. Honestly, I've heard some people saying, like on the Bill Simmons podcast, they had this whole thing about it where it was like, was this the biggest moment of Embiid's basketball career? And when I heard that, I was like, that is wild, but that might be true.
I don't think it's might. I think it's pretty definitive. Like, game 7
against the Raptors.
Against the Raptors.
That was big. So it's at least on that level. And this is the one where he won. He put it away.
Like, he was a big part of why, yeah.
I think he was the MVP of the fourth quarter. For sure, for Team USA, was Embiid. He hit.
I don't think I've ever seen him step up like that.
Yeah,
especially with how abysmal everything else had been. To truly okay, it's time. Turn it on.
He shut down Jokic on a post up towards the end of the game. That
two of
reaction
them back-to-back, I think, or no?
Maybe but there was at least the one where he kind of stonewalled him in the post, and forced a turnover. And after that call, it was like how impassioned he was. It was like, I've never seen Embiid get like that.
It was also, this was the other thing that I loved. And I'm going to sound like a 40-year-old like white dad. He was like pumped to be playing for Team USA. It wasn't because they were winning. Like, he could have, obviously France was good. He was like pumped. Like when people were saying, give your French passport back, he's like, okay, I'm an American. Like he was like locked in. And then that moment, I definitely had my games mixed up. Because that moment where you saw him like have that play, and it was almost like it felt more like a Ant celebration, because that's how animated Ant just gets for anything. Yeah. But he just was like a defensive play, which makes my heart flutter. Then just was like that pumped about it. Now, I think that hypothesis still makes me mad how just terrible he played for a lot of the Olympics, but it doesn't matter. He had the big moment. That might have been the biggest moment of his career.
I
don't think it's wrong. I think it just is.
Especially like when you expand it to it's against his like arch nemesis.
No, like it'll go back, and those will be the two
guy he's friendly with. You know, it'll be those are the two guys that are compared over and over.
Arrow-wise, you'll go forward 20 years, and it'll be brought up like these two had it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic is like a Brady Manning type of thing, where like Embiid will get him a couple times, but it's like definitely a like they are going to be connected whether Embiid likes it or not, or Jokic likes it or not. I don't think either of them really care. Embiid probably more than Jokic does. But
or LeBron Melo comparison.
Yeah,
kind of like that.
That works too. That's that same thing where, they're just kind of always like, okay, intertwined in the same thing.
Mm-hmm, but one is like, at least so far, it's been pretty stark. One has been like the poster child of like success in some ways, and the other has been a lot more just disappointment and
I also
getting
think
injured.
that the thing that like I've thought about is that Embiid wasn't really set up to succeed in terms of his team around him until, they're like chances to succeed is a similar window.
Really? I thought Embiid's had it for a while now. Embiid's best chances were a while ago.
But like, I feel like both, like if the Nuggets didn't get injured, I feel like their windows are like 19 to now.
Oh yeah, if the Nuggets didn't get injured, for sure.
That's more like the team construction around them. Like, the first couple of years of Embiid's like playing career were very much like he's not playing or we're still building this thing up. Like it's not. Yeah. We're not there yet.
I'd say once they got Jimmy was when it really became...
It switched to try to like, let's try to win now type of thing.
And that was, if I'm not mistaken...
17-8?
That was Jokic's... That was 18-19. I think that was Jokic's first year in the playoffs. So that was like the Nuggets when they first were like...
Yep.
It was like what the Grizzlies were like 3 years ago. It was like when they became a team that was like, a fun young team that was flirting with the playoffs to now they're the 2 seed and not ready for the moment yet, type of thing.
Because the year before that is the year that they lost in game 82 to the T-Wolves, so they would not be in the playoffs. Yep,
exactly. So yeah, in that season, I feel like Embiid's team was definitely way more suited for a championship at that time, and then moving forward from there, it's just been like Jokic. The reason why I say Jokic is more like the antithesis of Embiid in a way is because Jokic, compared to like every star ever, his numbers just get a lot better in the playoffs compared to literally everybody. Like it's a very stark difference when you put him in a playoff scenario. He just becomes a better version of himself, and Embiid is the opposite for the most part. That's the overarching pattern. He's had big games and big moments. Most of them are early in the playoffs and earlier in the rounds or in the series themselves. But overall, he just takes a pretty big jump down in his production. Giannis is kind of the same way outside of the final series that he had in 21. Outside of that, if you look at his numbers across the board, he takes a bit of a demotion.
An aggressive one.
Yeah. So Jokic is just like the one where it's like in the playoffs, he definitely steps up to the plate literally every time there's a plate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where I guess I'll leave that one. But yeah, Embiid this was like, a big monumentous moment of his career is just like a funny thing that I would not have thought of on my own. But after I heard it, I was like, yeah, that is probably true. This is probably like it for him so far. This is his moment.
I think so far is a good.
Yeah.
I also wonder if we'll like look at Embiid as he was just like always like he's had terrible seeding luck. Like when he runs into teams, like how many times has Joel Embiid lost to the team that represented the East? Like I'd like to go look at that. Like
Raptors,
Celtics
in 19. The Celtics in 22.
Only once. Yep, in 22. And he's lost to the Celtics
face each
more
other
than that
year?
Yes.
They did?
It was
okay.
Nets, Sixers, Bucks.
Heat.
Sixers. Was it Nets, Sixers, Heat?
I know Heat were in the conference finals against the Celtics, but I can't remember if they had beaten.
He beat the Bucks.
He beat the Bucks first round.
I thought they beat them.
So this is 2022. Bucks swept the Bulls first round, I want to say, actually. Yeah, because that was the last time the Bulls were the 6th seed, was a 22. The Bucks made it to the second round, and that's probably where they played the Heat. I think the Bucks played the Celtics, didn't they?
Do I have my years mixed around?
But this is something I could probably just look up, to confirm. But 2022 NBA playoff bracket.
Celtics did play the Bucks. I do have it mixed up.
So the Sixers played the Heat then.
And the Bucks
in the second round
beat the Bulls 4-1. Celtics 1-7. Celtics 1-7.
4-1. In my mind, I just remember that as an absolute beatdown. But I guess the Bulls got a game. So yeah, the Celtics got the Nets and then the Bucks. So the Heat were the 1 seed. I forget about that also. But anyways, getting back to the game we were talking about, which was the Serbia-US game. Embiid, I think we put a bookend on that one. He just had some really big shots down the stretch. There was one big call on Bogdan, that over and back. Well, actually, two big calls. There was that one, which was a turnover because I don't know. I've never seen that call before, where it was like, usually, even if the defensive player, like might have not actually like fully touched the ball last as the ball's going in the backcourt, it's like he's the one who caused the drop in the first place. And so Bogie going back to recover the ball and cross, and he stepped on the line. It was like the other thing.
Is that a different FIBA rule?
I don't know, I guess.
Oh,
not sure.
I just like the moment that sticks out to me about like the dumb FIBA rules that people just forget is the ball is like directly above the cylinder and Wemby just dunks it in the final game and everybody on Team USA is like, what the heck is that? But you can do that. Like that's fine in FIBA rules. So I don't know if that's like a weird FIBA rule.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Every time I see that play happen, it's like even if there's like some doubt, like all the benefit of the doubt goes to the offensive player recovering the ball in the backcourt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When like it's like, oh, the ball got loose somehow. I don't know if the defensive player touched it, but it kind of looked like he could have. Like that, you give the offensive player the benefit of the doubt there. That's how I feel like it usually goes. But so that was a weird call.
I felt like there was like a lot of plays throughout this Olympics that didn't feel like offense got the benefit of the doubt. Like balls that got like poked out and then they were like out on the offense, defense gets the ball. I'm like, what? Yeah. What world are we in? Like the defensive player, like borderline fouled him to push that basketball out. Why are we giving the defensive guy credit, like the benefit of the doubt? This is backwards.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. And the other big call down the stretch of this game was when Jokić either pushed AD into KD on the three or AD pull. I'm not sure what was going on there because that just happens especially with NBA players that are so crafty with that kind of stuff. They try to make it look like they're being pulled down, or the other guy will try to make it look like, he's being pushed over type of thing. Like they're both actors, So it's hard to tell who was really the instigator there. But the result of it was AD falling into KD's legs as he was shooting a three, which was a very dangerous play.
Yeah.
And then I've never seen that before either. This might be a FIBA rule, but I guess if you push an offensive player into the shooter, then it's a shooting foul.
Oh.
That's what they called.
I was like, I definitely know that that's a foul.
Yeah, it would be, but I would say that's an away from the play foul.
Yeah.
Like that's an off-ball foul.
But maybe just in the rules, it's it impacted the shot or the landing zone.
Yeah, and the NBA, the way that would be called is if KD had started his shooting motion before the foul occurred, then the basket would count, but there would just be also an offensive or also just a defensive foul. That wouldn't be a shooting foul, but it would just be a foul on Jokić.
But the shot would count even if it didn't go in.
Yeah. Well, the shot would count if it went in.
Oh, but if it didn't go in, it would just be a regular defensive off the ball foul.
Well, it would be a foul either way.
Yes, I'm just saying the basket shot only counts if it goes in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if it didn't go in, what would happen?
I was asking if there was some sort of weird, like goaltending weird rule in that weird instance.
Oh yeah, no, they just count the shot attempt.
You're more of a historian guy than I am, so
yeah, it would just be a shot attempt. So like if it would go in, then they would count it, but. That would only be if he started the upward motion before the foul occurred. But in this case, it was deemed a shooting foul because it was on his shot, I guess. But it was like the defensive player didn't touch Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He was like feet away from him. But that's just an interesting one. And also, it was like a play where it was not definitive on like whether or not, I don't know. Just to me, it looked like a tie-up type of situation. I wasn't sure if Jokić was like just mulling over Anthony Davis there, and then after that though, there was that big shot from KD in the mid range. It was like a 17-footer that he hit over maybe Guduric, or I'm not sure who was guarding him at that point, but. Melo, that was the thing that I took away from that was Melo directing that whole play from the sideline. I don't know if you noticed that, but on the play that KD hit that, kind of ice the game sort of mid-ranger, and Melo was like yelling from the sideline that whole play up, like telling them to get the ball to KD and having KD ISO. He was like basically being the coach.
Which also I just read, Steve Kerr isn't likely not to be the coach in 2028. He's likely to retire.
He just will retire. Yeah. That makes sense. I wasn't sure if that was like a Grant Hill decision or if that was like a him decision.
Well, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's a Grant Hill decision that's a
under
mutual...
the face of...
Yeah. I feel like those happen quite a bit.
It just was... everything says likely, so it's not like a guaranteed... But also, when your backup is Eric Spoelstra, it's pretty easy for people to call for your backup to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
They have a lot of guys there that can take over. I mean, they got Eric Spoelstra.
A lot. Ty Lue,
Mark Few.
I think that Dagnall would be a guy that I would like to see be potentially in that role. No, he doesn't need to be there.
Joe Mazzulla.
I just feel like Mazzulla ball is just like Olympic built. It's built for the Olympics. It is essentially what international teams do.
I think that works.
But
that would work pretty well.
I feel like Dagnall is like the actual, he for sure should be put into that little pipeline. For sure.
Uh-huh.
I would
both of them. I wouldn't mind. Yeah,
I wouldn't hate Joe Mazzulla being there either. And then there was another coach I thought of that I thought would be a good one to have in that little run. Can't remember.
A young guy?
A younger-ish. Borrego? Borrego. I didn't say it wrong.
Where's he at right now? Cleveland. No, that was... Did he take the job in Cleveland?
I keep crossing them around.
I feel like if he does... So who's the coach in Cleveland now?
Cleveland is... It's just so, because my brain has so many people as the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. It still has Bickerstaff.
Kenny Atkinson.
Yes.
Kenny Atkinson.
My brain had, Bickerstaff is still there. Then there was, a J.J. Redick wrinkle at one point. And then Borrego. Yeah. There was so many, but it is
So James Borrego is still with the Pelicans then, right? Is that where he is? Or did he go with J.J. to the Lakers?
I think he's still there. He's still there with the Pelicans.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But, yeah, Will Hardy was going to be my guess for the young coach you were thinking of.
Oh, that's another good one.
Yeah.
But I think Dagnall is by far my one, I would like him to be in that little run. He's an American, right?
Dagnall? Yeah, for sure.
I was, pretty sure, but sometimes there's weird little wrinkles. He's got, an Eastern European flair looking at him a little bit.
Yeah, I've just heard him talk, so that makes me laugh a little bit. He talks like a
he's a masshole, he's kind of like
Brad. Is he? He talks kind of like Brad Stevens. I was gonna say, who is I think Brad Stevens from Indiana, right? Or at least he's like an Indiana guy.
I'm pretty sure that Dagnall is a masshole because that was one of the names that got thrown out of when the Udoka Ime stuff exploded. It was Dagnall was a name that got tossed out there as he's from the area.
Yeah, it looks like he's from he was born at least in Leominster. I don't know how to pronounce that. That was probably
where do you go to college?
Not how you pronounce it. College.
Is it UConn? I feel like there's a bunch of coaches that went to UConn.
It says, UConn and Florida, I guess.
Shout out.
He had 2 different college stops, it looks like. Yeah, anyways, what were we discussing? Melo is what I wanted to get into now. So I mentioned Melo drawing up that play somewhat for KD, but then the other thing that you had kind of dug into a little bit before, which was Bogdan Bogdanović, how fired up he was getting and doing the Melo 3 to the dome celebration. A lot of people were saying that he was trash talking him. I think even Noah Eagle on the call, he had mentioned something about...
That's a thing I would like to throw out. Noah Eagle did a fantastic job this entire Olympics.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. He's only a couple years older than us. 1 year older than me.
Yes, and the reason he is in that area is because of who his dad is. Like, that's pretty...
Yeah, but you can tell that that's not the only reason.
He is definitely...
That is definitely not the only reason, yeah. He is a very, very good play-by-play broadcaster.
There's another... Joe Buck is obviously like another name that people know. His dad was a big... Sometimes it's just like, when you're very good and you get the opportunity, it doesn't matter how you got the opportunity. If you're good enough, you're good enough.
Yeah.
But the NBC had or whoever owns Nickelodeon had Noah Eagle on these like Nickelodeon NFL broadcasts.
Oh.
He will not be getting put on those anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, probably
because he did a very good job. Didn't love the D-Wade. D-Wade got better as the Olympics went on. But I did not love early D-Wade as a color guy. But again, I think he got a lot better as we got further and further into it.
And I liked their connection, kind of. Like, I thought Noah did a good job of helping D-Wade out a lot. I thought they bounced off each other pretty well.
And that might have been why it got better as it went. It just was like Eagle figuring out how to work with D-Wade. And then someone telling D-Wade to stop calling LeBron L'America, Captain L'America.
Captain L'America.
Yeah, it got better. And anyway, shout out to Noah Eagle. Also, shout out to Mike Tirico, who kind of like hosted the whole Olympic platform for NBC. He also did a fantastic job. So shout out to those guys for doing a great job at that stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm with NBC getting the NBA. I'm looking forward to seeing or hearing more Noah Eagle on NBA calls. That'll be cool. But Melo though, Bogdanovich doing the 3 to the dome, talking to Melo. Noah Eagle on the call said something about how he's like looking directly at Melo and was like kind of treating it like it was like this trash talking thing. I had known before just because I'm a huge Melo fan, and probably also because I'm a Serbia and Jokić
You're like
fan.
A weird crossover person.
Yeah,
I got all the texts about Baylor Shireman getting drafted by the Celtics. There's just this weird pie graph that you're one of like tens of humans on the planet that would know this.
That has the connection of Bogdanovich and Carmelo Anthony, because I know that Bogdanovich has done that for a long time. Ever since he's come to the NBA, he's done the Melo celebration thing routinely. Yep. And I've seen him and Melo interact a few times especially even on like FIBA stage.
Yeah, and like even when they're not against each other, just generally. Yeah.
And
I say against, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was in FIBA I think it was FIBA last year. Melo was at a lot of those games. And when Serbia, either in the game against the US, it might have been a completely different game, but regardless, it was after one of their games where Bogdanovich went crazy. Melo was over there and they were dapping each other up and stuff. So I knew that they had at least somewhat of a friendly relationship. And so I was sure that it was probably not him being aggressive towards Melo. He just looks very aggressive because of how hyped and aggressive he is while he's playing basketball. But yeah, he was doing the 3 to the dome thing, and a lot of people were on Twitter saying that basically treating it as though he was being an adversary to the US, basically, you know. And LeBron seemed a little bit annoyed with him at some points, and it definitely targeted him specifically to get a switch and to post him up. It seemed like a motivated thing of I'm gonna shut this guy up, basically, because he was talking a lot of trash. But and then after the game, it was cool to see LeBron when they were going through the handshakes, you know, at the end of the game. LeBron and KD both stopping extra long with Bogdanovich and making sure they were, you know, talking to him in his ear after the game, because you could tell he was so fired up. I don't know if you saw him after the game when they were walking through the handshakes, but Bogdanovich, his eyes were red and he was breathing really heavy with his teeth, showing he just looked like he was he looked like a boy, a young boy who just got done throwing a massive fit, or you know, who just got really mad about, you know, something that kids get mad about. I don't know. You would probably have a better idea on that, but just something like that. But yeah, so Melo though,
I tweeted respect with the 7 as a T.
Oh yeah, that was the other thing. He was wearing the jersey number 7. So that was good to see. And then also, I was glad to see D Wade actually dismiss those rumors on the next game call. It was either the Serbia game or
I think it was
the US
the Serbia game.
Okay, yeah, the Serbia-Germany game for the bronze medal, which that's a good transition. We could head into that right now, unless, actually, we already set up a transition earlier that will be more chronological to go through, which is what happened after this game completed, this Serbia-US game. And so that was KD getting in a Twitter war with Nugget Nation. And maybe some people who listen to this podcast, maybe listening to this episode, I have no idea. I know that Will Jones, at least, the one that he called out by name,
Will's
saying
mad.
Will's upset. Yeah. He at least interacts with a lot of our clips on Twitter. Outside of that, though, not sure. But it started at Swipe-A-Cam, who, for those who don't know, I don't know if you know who Swipe-A is. Yeah, so he's like a Nuggets YouTuber.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so like he's one of the bigger content creators in Nuggets Nation, and he really just said this very unoffensive, unassuming, like not really arguable type of statement. He said Serbia just took the most talented team in the history of the. I guess this part is arguable, but that's not even what Katie's mad about. Serbia just took the most talented team in the history of the planet to the wire with a medal on the line. The thing I was saying was arguable in that sentence was the most talented team in the history of the planet, But it was factual that Serbia took Team USA to the wire with a medal on the line. And he says Team USA was a 16-point favorite. The whole country should be proud. That was all he said. And then Katie says, "Where are you from?" 2 question marks. As, kind of implying that he can't be happy or have any sort of like, oh, congrats to Serbia for that close game, basically. I think the way that everybody was talking about South Sudan, by the way, the same way everybody was talking about South, but it just because they have the best player in the world, now you can't cheer for them.
No, I think one, the context of not that, but like if you're KD, doom scrolling on Twitter, Swipe-A-Cam was not the only person to say this or have this sentiment. So I think that's why like KD saw someone that was like not a nobody, and so he like this might have been just his like I'm done.
The camel or the straw that broke the camel's back.
I'm done. I get it, but I'm done. Like I've been having to read about how like people legitimately from the United States wanted Serbia to win. Like that was their preferred outcome, which I think is nuts. I've never had a player that like I hold like so much joy in be my guy from a different country. I've never had that. But I can't, my brain can't brain that. I can't comprehend.
It's probably just because it's the biggest example of it, but there's literally a lot of Magic fans. I've seen and heard multiple Magic fans who are rooting for Germany over the US.
That's insanity and stupid. That's insanity. Also, shout out to Franz Wagner, the biggest choker on the planet. Don't tell this man that it's game 7. Don't tell him that there's a medal on the line. Don't tell him that this game has any importance, because this man shriveled up and died in every bright light scenario that he has been put in front of. He was we're not going to talk about this game because we don't have enough time. He was so bad in that France game. The whole country should put the blame on his shoulders individually. He was so bad. And it was like flashbacks to game 7 Cavs Magic. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You just slapped him in a different jersey. He probably was having like flashbacks of like Donovan Mitchell. Where is he on the court? Is that Dennis Schroeder? Not Dennis Schroeder. I mixed up teams. Is that Yabo or is that Evan Mobley? Just rubbing his eyes, having flashbacks because he was terrible. Anyway, getting back to it, that's dumb and stupid.
I do want to give him his due credit though of how good of an Olympics he had overall.
Except for when losing meant you did not keep going.
No, in the knockout round, he was good in the quarterfinal. And then I guess the last 2 games after that would have been, where he did not step up. And but in the first half of both of those games, he was especially in the France game.
I did not watch the whole France game. I tuned in with like moments left in the second quarter.
Okay,
like,
that would make sense.
A couple minutes. So I saw nothing but booty cheeks.
The reason why France was down to begin with, why they were in a big hole against Germany and they had to climb out of it, was because of Franz Wagner in that first quarter, especially. He hit a lot of big shots, was dunking on people.
He just kept shooting and just nothing kept landing. Because like if I don't watch a whole game, I will be a score watcher. If I caught most of the game, I was like, I don't need to go back and watch the quarter. But apparently I did need to, because if you look at the box score,
overall he had a bad game that game probably.
And he just but more importantly, the thing I wanted to get out there with the KD thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Like everything about it, I loved it. I think that the people that caught like the strays were like people that were like public-ish figures.
Bigger accounts
that just caught the flack of all of the irritation of KD from like scrolling through like
all the people who were telling him that he sucks and Jokic is clearly the best player on the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah, which like I don't think that the he sucks is definitely wrong, but Jokic being the best, like that's fine. But I think it was more than like people actively hoping for the downfall of Team USA basketball that are like from like Brooklyn, and you're like, what?
From Brooklyn?
I just picked a random city that popped into my brain.
Oh.
Or
no,
from
most
Denver.
of them are Nuggets fans. Yeah.
But it wasn't exclusive. But yes. It just is that's insane to me to like a guy like so much you would rather your country lose. Like that's like supposed to be the art of the Olympics in my brain, is whatever issues you have with your country, whether it's the United States or wherever you're from, whether it's Latvia, shout out, or Brazil, shout out, you can watch someone don your country's colors and kick ass on the international stage and be pumped as crap. The second that, in the United States case, Simone Biles hops on the vault and leaps off the vault, you're just like, everything about me that doesn't like what's going on in my country is gone. I am all in stars and stripes.
In a vacuum, I'd say I'm like that.
Apparently, and especially I'm a walking vacuum. I am just a vacuum. Because that one's crazy that did a thumbs up in that scenario.
Yeah.
But I just was so like, and I'm also, because of this, like in more Nuggets corners than I usually would be. Like I'm in more Nuggets fears than normal. But like I would totally get if it's like, I would like Jokic to have the game of his, like I said within a basketball player example that's not real, I would like for Jokic to have just like the all-time game and then just fall short and just lose. I would love for that to happen. But outright prefer. And then the other sect of people that aren't Nuggets fans,
you also got to you got to think of it like, sorry to interrupt, but like the Team USA, the only thing that would motivate me to cheer for it is the USA on the front. Like the actual identity of the team, all the members of the roster are people I'm very used to cheering against. And like they're like kind of the adversary of the person I cheer for all the time in basketball.
Yeah, but the jersey, that doesn't do enough. That doesn't like...
Not really when it's... when I'm watching Jokic back down Anthony Davis, there's not a piece of my body that is like, I hope Anthony Davis swats the crap out of Jokic right now. You know what I mean? Like I want Jokic to put him in a blender. You know?
No, not in that. Like I do in any other scenario I do, but in this one I just don't. Like my brain can just be like, USA, 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 and not care. Bury everyone.
If
Jason Tatum was from Germany, I don't think I would change.
Yeah, but I feel like my love of Jokic is
I've got.
I feel like
if the Team Japan and Keisei Tominaga would have played the United States,
maybe
I hope you get buried. Like I don't want.
But Keisei, at least you're willing to admit a lot of Keisei's faults, or like you're like, maybe he's not the best. Like you don't think that he's like a real NBA player, you know?
No.
That type of,
like he's got
you
like
just
a
love him
situational
as a dude.
Yeah.
So
what
I'm
he
like
did
that
for Lincoln,
with
Nebraska.
Jokic, but I'm like that with Jokic, as in I love him as a dude, but then also I think he's like the best basketball player I've ever watched with my eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like I feel like Jokic is just this super rare scenario of, it's like almost you can't find a parallel to it with a lot of Nuggets fans, where he more than maybe anybody alive right now, maybe Steph is the only guy you can say the same thing about, but like he has earned, maybe Giannis is close, I guess, but that's the three that have earned the amount of loyalty and fandom and like just love and admiration and support from an entire fan base as they have. Like, nobody is more deserving of that than Jokic.
Yeah. And like, I just think my line is there. That's like the only place in the Olympics against Team US. Like, that's the only line that I don't know if I could like step across. And again, I've never had to go, like, I've never had that thing happen. I've never been in that scenario. But that's like a line that that's a line that I don't think I'd cross. The other sect of people that I also think suck, almost even more than the other group of people that are rooting for a player they like, is the people that hate LeBron so much they wanted to see Team USA lose. Move. If you don't like someone, like, I don't care. It made me so mad. And it was a bunch of like 45-year-old dudes being like, LeBron's a bad person.
The Facebook dads who hate LeBron. I'm pretty sure that is a community on Facebook.
Group. I kind of want to join it, not because I hate LeBron. As I've said, this Olympics might have like flipped a switch into like, maybe I'm on the other side of the GOAT talk. Anyway, I want to be there just to see what's sent in there. Like, what kind of like, you hear this idiot opened up a school for underprivileged people in Akron? What a piece of like, just like
Jordan would never.
Jordan would never. Oh, man. Imagine this. LeBron skipped team practice to attend his son's graduation. Jordan would never. Just like things like, and you're like, there's things you can dig at LeBron about for being like tone deaf about stuff, for being like weird, but like
weird.
It's like, it's almost like a more egregious level than like people that just hate Jason Tatum. I'm like, why? Like, what has he done to you? Or like people that like hate Steph Curry because he didn't sign with Nike, and you're like, what?
I've never even heard of that, to be honest.
I don't know if it's real, but I'm sure that's a sentiment people have because there's someone everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But like, it's more just the like, come on, people. Like, this is supposed to be just a unifying time for 2 weeks where we stop hating everything and then we just enjoy. And you don't have to follow the sport. You just have a team that you know you're supposed to like because they're wearing your colors. And I'm not saying it needs to be blind obedience in anything outside of the Olympics, but in the Olympics, I don't watch swimming regularly. But you know what I do? I get amped as hell when Katie Ledecky hits the pool in the 1,500-meter freestyle. I also get a little bit excited when I hear, oh, this person is representing Sweden. They broke the pole vault world record. Guess what? They're actually from Louisiana. Their mom's from Sweden, but they're representing Sweden instead of the U.S. Those make me laugh too. Do you have any idea, like that French swimmer that won 4 golds? He swims at Arizona State. Swims for France. He's from France. He's French.
Are you saying you like that or you don't like that?
I don't hate it. Whatever. Do what you want. But why would you prefer?
Why is that any better than the people cheering for Jokic?
Because none of them have any connection to Serbia at all.
Jokic.
That's enough of a connection.
Is your in
the Nuggets Reddit, I've seen people refer to each other as Serbian brothers. That's a borderline cult move.
A lot of people in the Nuggets Reddit are Serbians.
That would make sense. So they might have actually been talking to the actual Serbian people.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a good chance, probably 1 out of 6 chance, a post in the Reddit is for a Serbian person.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was like, there's way too many of these posts calling everyone Serbian brothers. And I'm like, I don't know if Denver's going to like secede from the Union and become like a satellite city of Serbia, but this is not okay.
Yeah, no, I'm sure probably a lot of that was also Nuggets fans becoming honorary Serbians. You know, I was kind of joined in on that a little bit, but like I was never to the point that I saw some Nuggets fans in chats like going really hard and hateful like comments about Team USA and like LaFraud and, you know, like all that kind of stuff.
Sounded like a Sixers fan, just like confusion, delusion.
Going really hard at Team USA and then saying, like, when talking about Serbia, saying we and us and using those pronouns. And I was like, okay, like, I'm American. I'm not going to say we when I'm talking about Serbia, but I'm definitely rooting for Serbia against, like, that would be my preferred out. Like, there's no world in which I would rather like the US just get another gold medal, which we like a fifth one in a row, when like in the realm of possibility is Nikola Jokić leading Team Serbia to winning the gold medal against like one of the best teams ever assembled. Like that is, if he were to do that, there's no coming, like he's like almost solidified top 4 all time. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like a insane thing to add to his resume.
It is, but
there's no way I would have wanted. Yeah, there's no way I would have not preferred that outcome, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not there, and I don't know if I'll ever be there. But maybe the Celtics draft pick in 3 years after they've had to vacate the past 2 will be a international player that I'll fall in love with and maybe get super big into Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know. Just like Latvia. If Latvia and KP was cooking, and that, no chance, no universe, no stratosphere. I prefer the other way around.
But if KP was Jokić, like
I can't even mentally do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's like there's not a parallel.
I just need it to happen, and then in like 20 years, even if the pod's
you need to have a Jokić. Everybody deserves to have a Jokić. You know what I mean?
Oh, I had one. His name was Tom Brady.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if football was in the Olympics,
yeah.
If Tom Brady was from Canada,
or like universe.
Okay, a country that you are indifferent about. Let's say
I'm indifferent about Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not like usually you hate bordering things, like things that border you.
I make fun of Iowa. I don't hate Kansas
and Colorado.
I don't like Colorado. Yeah, that's true. It's actually just east-west. North-south, I'm fine. So Canada and Mexico in the
South
clear.
Dakota.
I've never... Okay, also, because of the geopolitical climate, I have no ill will towards Mexico either. Just going to throw that one out there. Just because they border the United States, I'm cool with Mexico. I have no gripes. I'm cool. Canada, I don't really care. Like, if it's like a contest against US, yeah, hell yeah, bury them. But it's not like a... I don't really care. I'm indifferent.
Tom Brady playing for, like, Sweden or some, you know... Let's give him to that country. So you would not like Peyton Manning is the quarterback of Team USA, and Tom Brady is the quarterback of Team Sweden.
Yep.
You're not cheering for Team Sweden?
Nope. Not Nebraska. U.S. by 1 million. I don't. Yeah. Indisputable. I also don't really like Tom Brady as a person, so that doesn't super help. Just I'm talking about like having a GOAT level like entity.
Oh, I get
you. Is more my thought.
Yeah.
Like
Jokić is the best of all worlds. Like there's no way that there's nothing that holds me back. I love everything about Jokić. I said it kind of sounded like a joke a few episodes ago when I said Jokić might just be my favorite person ever. Like not just that. That's a real statement. Like he might just be my favorite person, thing, any noun that's ever
existed.
Nouned. Yeah. I just use noun as a verb, but
there's an old Dairy Queen commercial that says, "Did I just use bacon as a verb?" It was about the Baconator when it first came out. I memorized the words. Do you want to hear the commercial? I can do it right now.
I suppose if you want to, yeah.
$1.99 gets you burger perfection, right down to the pickles and the cheese selection. It's Grill Burger, not Baconator. That's Wendy's. Anyway, Grill Burger.
I was gonna say, but I thought Baconator was Wendy's.
A 1/4 pound of beef is how you start making it. Shove it in your mouth right after we bacon it. And then the little lip goes, "Did I just use bacon as a verb? Maybe." That could be a clip, honestly. You could like top and bottom those back to back with the DQ commercial from YouTube, it's verbatim, almost positive.
The only thing I do remember about that commercial was the did I just use bacon as a verb? I do remember
Maybe. And it's like an all black background with just the lips, because Dairy Queen for like a really short amount of time used like a pair of lips as their mascot.
Oh yeah, I remember that too.
Mouth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember that being in the I remember the mouth being a DQ thing, but I don't remember the bacon line being in a DQ. You could have told me it was any fast food restaurant, and I would have been like, oh yeah, I remember that, but it's DQ apparently.
It's like an all black background with the burger, and then the lips are moving around singing the song.
Nice. Yeah. But I guess to finish the KD thing, I did want to at least kind of mention the other things that were said. He said the Will's upset quote tweet of Will Jones's tweet that said, "Some people are saying me calling KD a scumbag was too harsh. So I'll rephrase. He's a petty, insecure, little ignorant B-word." And then KD said, "Will's upset." And then the other thing that was said that was pretty prominent was Mike Schmidt had a tweet that said, "Cheering against Team USA, question mark? You mean like all of those Americans who were making fun of Noah Lyles not winning gold in his latest race? Good old double standards."
Also,
just admit
that was lame. People that did that too. I thought sorry.
Then he finished off with saying, "Just admit you hate the fact that Jokic is clearly the best player in the world."
What?
That's what I was talking about earlier.
And I might be in a weird camp where like I am fully like, yeah, Jokic is that dude on planet Earth at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But also people being like upset that do I wish that Kung Fu Kenny would have gotten the gold and Noah Lyles got the silver? Two Americans? Absolutely. But do I...
Kung Fu Kenny to me is Kendrick Lamar. Who is Kung Fu Kenny?
Kenny Baranek. He's like a 100 and 200 meter sprinter.
Oh, okay.
He wears like a headband, like a Kung Fu guy.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, do I prefer that he would have beat Noah Lyles because of his comments about world? Absolutely. Do I prefer that the individual from Botswana that I believe that won it? No, Trinidad and Tobago.
I know Botswana, a sprinter from Botswana did really well. I know that, but I don't know.
Maybe it was a Botswana runner that won the 200. Do I prefer that outcome? No. That's craziness. Noah Lyles getting second behind another American, I'm cool with that. That's the way. For me.
Yeah, no. That makes sense. But yeah, so he said, just admit you hate the fact that Jokic is the best player in the world, which was something that I feel like a lot of that was the main thing that Katie was probably getting mad at, because there was a lot of that, which I don't know. To me, I don't feel like it's necessary to really act like, oh, that's what he's insecure about or he's upset about that necessarily. But I didn't really love the fact that Katie, the way he responded was like, to all you Nuggets fans, nobody gives a F who y'all lames believe is the best player in the world or in the league. Players got major respect for Yoke. We don't worship him like y'all do, but most are in awe of his brilliance. Trolling you cornballs for rooting against us is a part of the game. Deal with it. Which
the only part I didn't like about, like, my initial response to that was like, yeah. But the only thing is that, like, it felt like passive aggression towards Jokic. That was the only part that I didn't super love. I don't think that was like his intent. Again, I'm trying to put this in the lens of you're Kevin Durant and you're just like doom scrolling on Twitter, dealing with like constantly seeing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And you're like, all of these people, not all of them, but like most of these people are like Americans actively rooting against us because they like Jokic. And I feel like Jokic caught a stray that I don't love, but most of the sentiment I'm fine with.
Yeah.
What was your take on it?
I can see what some people are saying of like KD thinks like he might be a little envious of the amount of support Jokic gets from fans, and that like KD hasn't got that in his career just because of the way his story has gone, you know, the directions it's turned. He's earned a lot more, I shouldn't say earned, but he's received a lot more hate and, you know, stuff like that from fans than Jokic has, who's like overall approval rating is through the roof, you know?
Yeah. He could probably run for like a governmental office and get it, like after he's done playing.
Yeah, in Serbia or in Colorado, honestly. if that was legal in Colorado, which I don't think it is, unless I think you have to be, well, at least for presidency, you have to be born in the U.S.
The only one you have to be born there.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, because Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. Yep. That was the thing. That's wild. But yeah, that was the thing. And he's Austrian. But yeah, so yeah, my take on it was that I agree that I thought it was like, it seemed like a little bit of a dig at Jokic. And then also I feel like KD's like half right in a way where like he's saying like trolling you cornballs for rooting against this is part of the game. Deal with it. It's like, yeah, he should feel that way. Being like, you know, if you're American, you should cheer for us. And it's kind of like this adversarial relationship. But then also, it's not really a part of the game necessarily that players take to social media to bash people.
I think it is to a certain extent now. It's the same way that like old beat writers, like players would give them massive shit in the locker room or just wouldn't talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
But now everyone's a beat writer. So this is the way that like players can interface with everyone. If that makes like, true. Because there's like stories about like, oh my goodness, there's like a really good story about somebody that was like, just, oh my goodness, I can't think of it. It's a Boston story. I know it is. I'm just blanking on all the names and the details, and I'm sure I heard it on the Bill Simmons podcast. But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to Kevin Durant's Twitter to find the one of the more recent things, but yeah. So I guess just but what you were saying though is like the beat writer, the way it's kind of a part of the game for the players to take to Twitter and stuff like that to talk to fans, clap back at them in some ways, which KD is probably like the MVP of that for sure. But yeah, I thought one of the more recent things that he added in was funny though, was the Swipa after USA won gold. Swipa Cam, who's the original guy that he quote tweeted to start this whole beef thing, you know, or this whole back and forth. Swipa posted a picture of him wearing like all US stuff, and he has like American flag emojis with the gold medal emojis, and it says hashtag where you from. And Katie quote tweeted that with the screenshot of the Ja Morant video where Ja Morant is saying like, they switched up, you should have stayed on your side, you know, don't switch up type of thing, acting like what Swipa Cam was switching up. It's just like, to me, it's like he totally was just misunderstanding what Swipa's original post was, which was not cheer. He didn't say anything about cheering for Serbia even. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Swipa actually openly has said that he's cheering for the US first and foremost. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just funny to me that was the guy he chose to like engage with in this way. And then ended up like calling him like he was switching sides when all he was doing was like showing like, see, I'm rooting for the US. I'm from the US. All I was doing was saying, congratulations, Serbia. You guys should be proud for how close that game was and how, you know, how you performed. It's like that's what I was saying at the beginning of like is the same thing that everybody was saying about South Sudan this entire time. You know, all the Americans were like, everybody I've heard talk about it, were like, everybody just needs to give South Sudan such a round of applause. Like they've earned so much respect through this tournament. You know, it's like, why can't he say that about Serbia? Just because they have the best player in the world? Like it seems like that's Katie sees it as more of a threat, you know, in a way, because it's like a guy that other people rank above him, or I don't know, maybe that's reading into it or psychoanalyzing it too much, but it just seems interesting that's where he would have a beef with that kind of thinking, is with them. But yeah, again, like you said, it's probably just a culmination of
like just
all
play
the other comments.
It was like at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock Paris time. He had read a bunch of them. That's like I don't want to say a defense, but that's like my thought of like it was probably just a buildup of fired upness, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. But the real like overarching thing that I feel like this discussion brings up is like how KD has always kind of treated fandom of the NBA like it's something separate from the NBA when and like inherently it's not. Like KD would not be Kevin Durant, like he would not be the person that he is without people caring about basketball to begin with, and being fans of the game. Like the way that he just takes it to a level of, like he says, and I quote, "That's what y'all do, y'all clowns. Use players to push these corny agendas y'all got. This is a brotherhood, fam. You not part of, I guess. It's a problem now because social media got you clowns walking around with your chest out like you mean something. You don't. Your takes don't matter." So he's basically saying that NBA fans shouldn't have an opinion on the NBA, I guess, because they're not in the NBA. It's a brotherhood, fam. You're not a part of it. It's like I heard somebody on the DNVR Nuggets podcast compare it to. He's like, it was D-Line who said this, but he's like, this is like if in Game of Thrones, one of the dragons was like, you don't know what it's like to be part of the dragon brotherhood. Like, you don't like, but it's like talking to the fans watching Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay. Now I'm tracking more. I thought you were saying the dragon talking to like the people on the ground.
Other characters.
And I'm like, I've lost this train of thought.
Like I get it, like people in a form of entertainment being like, you can't have an opinion on this because you're a spectator. Like you're not one of the characters on the show, type of thing. It's like, no, we're all watching basketball. We're watching our teams, rooting for them. Like, yeah, sure, we don't know all the ins and outs of what happens behind the scenes of like things that you may know, but also we have a better vantage point from some aspects than you would. Like we have more clarity in seeing like the full picture of things sometimes. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. To me, inherently, like having people care about basketball and having opinions about basketball and talking about those opinions on Twitter, like that's all what the game, like what drives the game, what drives the sport to continue as a product, because it's what's engaging people's minds and interest in the game, Yeah.
No, yeah.
Like if you're not engaging with a community about like the thing, like most of the people who care about it are doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. To me, it's just like, why don't get mad at people just for having opinions about things. Like maybe, like I'm fine with him talking back about those. Like the "where are you from" thing was fine if it was used in a better context. I would have been more fine with it. But that is a lot more fine than the way that seems like a lot of his Twitter back and forths go, where it gets to a point where he's just like, fans can't have opinions. Like you don't matter.
I also feel like most of the times he blows up like that is when someone is like disrespectful to a certain extent. I'm like nothing close to a KD dick writer. I'm not like I don't really mess with KD. Like I'm not on KD's side if it's just like unprompted out of nowhere goes at the swipe a cam guy. But like in terms of like the context of he's probably like I get that more to the extent of that. But like I feel like most of the time whenever KD blows up at someone that's like, especially if they're like a nobody, it's almost always because they said something like attacking him as a person that like is like doesn't make sense out of nowhere, Yeah. Like that comment from the Will guy was like,
yeah, that was over the top
like,
for sure.
And he's like, okay, and then it like, I'm sure that and that comment would stick with you if we're normal people and random comments. I mean, they don't really like. I've been called. Our TikTok comments are hilarious sometimes, but I feel like those have kind of gone away, which is a bummer. They made my day sometimes going through them and reading them. Like some comments would stick with you potentially, I guess, especially if you're someone that is what a KD appears to be, someone that kind of is that is a big part of who he feels he is what people perceive him as. It feels like that matters to KD more than it matters to some. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I did not think that I would end up on the defense of KD, but I feel like everything has like a logic and a reason. It's also lame that he can't like take the heat sometimes.
I'm actually fine with him taking to Twitter and like talking to fans in most cases.
But his like get out of jail free card is, well, you're not in the NBA, so you don't understand.
Yeah, I don't like it when it goes to that place.
That's for sure. Lame. I feel like that's pretty. I feel like everybody in like KD's camp is like, that's lame, KD. Come on, man. So then you're gonna have like he'll like make like Vince Carter mad or something, and Vince Carter will be like, oh really? Was I not that guy? Kind of, sort of. I mean, I don't think he was ever KD, but
no, yeah.
He was. That's also a random person. They might be best friends. I don't know.
Yeah. But the thing that he was quote tweeting there, where he said that you don't matter, your takes don't matter, was this exact, like, this is from the tweeter. This exact thing he's talking about has existed since the inception of the NBA. You think people weren't worshiping MJ or Bird and being divisive then? I hate to be that guy, but it only seems like it's a problem now that guys like Giannis and Jokic are getting that same treatment. Bearing a different flag, I guess, is what his point is. And Durant says, that's what y'all do. Y'all clowns. You use players to push these corny agendas y'all got.
Which I feel like that's like a fair answer, because like outside of the one weird, like, he might have not meant it as a stray. We don't know what his intent of this tweet was. But like, other than like the weird, it felt like Jokic was like thrown under the bus.
Like he kind of suggested that he doesn't think Jokic is the best player on the planet.
But like,
kind of.
I do feel like that is lame to be like, oh, now that they're not American, you have a problem. That's a lame ass like take, and that feels like a take. Yeah, I wasn't alive when Bird and Jordan were like the dudes, but the reason I think it's lame isn't because of like how good the players are. I think it's just lame because like you've got your country and it's the Olympics. It's like that thing. It has nothing to do with like the who's on the other side at all. It's more of just like like you said, in a vacuum. That's just how my brain tries to do it. It has nothing to do with, oh, some of the best players are international, so I'm not going to root for them actively. It's just, I'll root for them in every scenario outside of this one little vacuum. I will not. But anyway, that's the one case in which I was on the other side. Against every other team, though, I was cheering for the U.S., especially against France. I think that's when it really culminated of like, I really do care, and I'm like, patriotic, or like, I'm like, France cannot win. Not just because like France in a way is like, it feels like weirdly the USA's rival in some ways. Not like, I feel like culturally, like a lot of times, like it seems like France is like the country that gets the most hate amongst USA and people. I think that's also probably more us, because a lot of our descent is aggressively German in the Midwest. So I feel like that also might be a regional thing. Yeah. Okay, that could be it. Like, because like if your great-great-grandparent made like France jokes, then your grandparent made
it just kind of gets passed out,
and then it just like jokes about France. We baguette, white flag. All we do is surrender. But then I feel like the hate is like probably towards hate is the wrong word, but like the plotting and the making fun of is probably almost non-existent in like Louisiana type of areas, because that's like an aggressive French descent. Area. That's true. Like there's probably not as many like there's like, what's another like, there's also a ton of Polish jokes in like our neck of the world, but Germany and Poland also is like, but then if you talk to somebody from like even just Colorado, the Polish jokes are like, what jokes do you make about Polish people?
There's also a lot of Czech jokes.
Which there's Czech people here, so it's double funny. Yeah. Which I feel like there's a lot of Polish people here too. I'm Polish. One of our mutual friends is Polish. Even more than I am. But I'm like mostly German, and then like a lot of Polish and a lot of Irish. I think we've talked about this on the show before, like maybe what my makeup is. I'm pretty hardcore Irish. Yeah. With a little bit of German, France flicked in there. Technically, it's
French?
It's the border of France and Germany.
Like literally, physically, the border. Oh. You know exactly where
there's
your
a book
people...
with my family, and it goes back and it tracks back to where they came in. You know what the double ironic thing is?
That's cool. I wish I had
my
that.
family came in through Canada, settled in Iowa, and then came into Nebraska. If you know me, that's funny, personally. That's like a cruel irony that they came up through Canada, down, were in Iowa for a generation, and then came.
Or maybe you could twist that in a different way. You'd say that like they finally came to their senses, and
no, it's,
you know, like
I would rather live in Iowa than like a lot of other states, but it's just like it's like just like the
easy butt of the joke.
I think Iowa does it to us too. I don't know. I don't really talk to very many Iowa people.
Yeah.
I've talked to one. Shout out to my old buddy Tom. Let's cut that out. Let's not even a buddy.
Why?
I don't know. I guess I kept it generic. Okay. Got a buddy named Tom from Iowa, but
not Tomathan.
Nope, not Tomathan. His social security. I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about Tom other than his name is Tom. Honestly, right now I'm blanking on Tom's last name, but Tom's from Iowa and Tom's a cool dude.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I was cheering for the U.S. against France, regardless. Oh, but what you were just saying about Louisiana, not like the jokes not being there. It was funny because the one example of like a nationwide or worldwide figure having a video where he's like making fun of French people was actually Theo Von, who is from Louisiana. So that made it funny. But he has a very funny video where he's like, French people, I just don't like them. I just don't like them. If you lined up 70 French people in front of me, no. Which, for those who have not listened to Theo Von before, that probably didn't make any sense. But I feel like for people who are familiar with Theo Von, what I just said there made a lot of sense. You could imagine him saying that.
No, he just kind of has a way of approaching life and philosophy.
Mm-hmm. I've never liked the French, I'll be honest with you. If you put 70 French people in front of me, I don't like them.
But anyways, that brings us to the gold medal game. But I don't think we even talked about the bronze game.
We did not talk about the bronze game. I was wondering, because, I mean, we can't keep going. We're 2 hours deep. I thought that we might make this one a 2-episode, and then we could talk about this, like the medal matches, and then also talk about like the future of what USA Olympics looks like potentially.
I like that.
And stuff like that in the next step, because I feel like that could be a strong 90 minutes also, you know?
True. And so the 4 sections I have left on my notes is France, which I was about to get into. And then the bronze medal game and the gold medal game.
Yep.
And then the bigger picture, which I have what you just alluded to, as well as the future of Team Serbia, because obviously
that'll just be you talking. Because I don't have anything to add.
A couple other things that I don't want to reveal to you or the fans quite yet.
So honestly, I'm done to just record tomorrow. We had both days
Plan
up.
To anyways.
Just knock it out anyway, and it'll also be maybe a little bit shorter. Maybe not. I don't know.
Probably shorter than this.
But you know what I would love also to do? It's be able to answer mailbag questions. And if you would like to send a question in the mailbag, if you're still here, and maybe Logan will throw this little promo in, Jacob from the future here at the end of the ep. Go ahead, email stuff to mailbag.hooptheory@gmail.com. Is that it?
Hooptheory.mailbag.
I almost had it. I'm dyslexic. Hooptheory.mailbag@gmail.com. We would love to answer questions. We've got a couple of them building up, but we want to do one big extravaganza mailbag ep before the season starts, because we would love to do that. We're also going to do our watchability ratings we got a lot of great eps coming up before the season kicks off October 26th against the Celtics, and the Knicks open up the NBA season. Those were announced today.
Okay, I did not look at that.
And then the T-Wolves play the Lakers, which is awesome. I'm so glad.
That's something we'll definitely get into soon as well.
I'm so glad I get to watch that to just open my palate up for NBA basketball.
Is what? I'm sorry, I didn't
Celtics, Knicks, exciting. Yeah. Lakers, T-Wolves, sick. I just don't.
Why?
Lakers, I know they need a West Coast team, But like,
yeah.
there's just other teams.
They're too good. They're two good Western Conference teams, but not necessarily like a good matchup of
I would
rivalry.
rather Wemby Lakers. Like, that's not a good rivalry, but like in terms of like, I don't think the
I don't know
Lakers
if that's any
are
better. I don't think it's worse, but I
it
don't
feels
think it's better
in my soul.
I think it would be much better if it was. But I mean, this might just be because I'm a Nuggets fan. But I don't even. I take that back. I don't even think it's just because I'm a Nuggets fan. I think Nuggets Lakers would be a much better like matchup.
That would
because
be a bad game.
Why?
It always is. Just kidding.
They're usually good games.
You just want a free win.
Just the Nuggets always win. Yeah, the Nuggets always win, but they're usually close games.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones, but I get they want an East Coast game, a West Coast game for the opening night. It totally makes sense. Yeah. But
Ant, future face, LeBron, the current face,
the fading face, the graying face,
and more ways than one.
Also, on this day in 2024, August 12th, would you like to place a bet that Ant doesn't retire a T-Wolf?
Which side am I betting on?
Which one do you want to bet on?
That he won't.
Same. Dang it. It doesn't work.
Because I feel like usually it's very rare for players to.
Well, we're gonna have two legends retire Celtics. So anyway,
is that
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
You're fully confident?
Yeah.
Oh wow, you are going the two guys.
Yep. Unless money stuff gets dumb, yes. Like it'll only be a like they can't pay what they're worth.
I just feel like there's been enough stuff between Jaylen and the city of Boston and like everything.
He loves Atlanta. He literally just opened a like nonprofit building houses, not like for underprivileged people thing called like Unite Boston or something like that.
Yeah, which a lot of players have done stuff like that and then left, and then they're still operating that, in the other city. But
anyway, I think that was a great ep. We'll hit it tomorrow. Yeah. We can record double tidbit theory tomorrow, maybe, because I don't got the juice in the tank.
What did you say?
A double tidbit theory tomorrow.
Oh, double tidbit theory.
Maybe, if that's okay
for
with
both
you.
episodes.
Yeah,
if you want to,
because I'm not feeling it tonight.
We could just do one and call it good. We could also do that. Either way.
So as we said at the start of the episode, and then like 15 minutes in, if you have not already and you feel like supporting us, more specifically Logan, because he does all the work. I just show up. Buy Me a Coffee is the place to go. That's /Hoop Theory, or head on over to patreon.com /Hoop Theory, where you get access to extra content, which is kind of us reversing roles, me trying to teach Logan something new outside of the realm of basketball. A lot of the time he already knows, but sometimes he's enlightened and he's taught me a couple things as well. Go to YouTube, subscribe, make sure you don't miss out on anything. And it seems like the inevitable of TikTok maybe disappearing is happening. That is by far our biggest platform, and we don't want to lose you. We'd love for you to stick on the train because this ain't stopping anytime soon. So if you're on TikTok, make sure you migrate to other places. And spoiler alert, because of the incentive to move over, we might be doing another jersey giveaway for people on the YouTube side to get to that 5,000 number again, but it'll be on the YouTube platform. So things to think about if you're looking for things to do. Anyway, that is all from me. Logan, anything else to add?
Just that I would like you to stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you guys next episode.
Peace.